Frollo is the app that several thousand single parents say has been life-changing for them in the most profound way. If you're a single parent and want to connect with other single parents and open yourself up to an amazing support network and new experiences, then the Frollo app is the one for you. The Frollo app has two modes: community mode for meetups and holidays, guidance and support, chats, and discovery to make it easy to find like-minded local single parents near you. Dating mode is a mindful, safe, and respectful dating offering where everybody is there to date another single parent. All users on Frollo are verified, putting our user safety first always. The Frollo app is free to download and use, with the option to upgrade to premium for access to lots of additional premium features for an elevated experience, which makes it easier than ever to access the incredible connections and experiences you're looking for. To download Frollo, search for Frollo, Frollo, on the App or Google Play Store, or go to www.frollo.com for more info. We can't wait to see you on the app soon. Hi, I'm Zoe Desmond, the founder of Frollo, the award-winning app for single parents that features both community and dating modes. And I'm also co-author, along with my wonderful friend Rebecca Cox, that I made through Frollo, of the book How to Be a Happy Single Parent. This season of the Frollo podcast features a series of conversations that include wisdom and guidance from some of the wonderful experts and single parents that feature in our book. We're delighted to welcome this week's guest, Helen Thorne, best-selling author of Get Divorced, Be Happy, and one half of the hilarious comedy duo Scummy Mummies. As well as sharing her single parent story with us, Helen speaks frankly about the challenges of single parenting after the breakdown of a relationship and how you can rebuild a life that you love. I guess what would be great to start on is like your story and how you came to be a single parent and what form or shape that took for you.
Yeah, I guess my story was a big surprise, and so how I became a single parent was in March 2020. Just before the pandemic, I found out my ex-husband had been having an affair for 4 years with a woman I knew of, I hadn't met. And my world kind of shattered. We'd been together for 22 years and met when I was 19, and we'd been married for 10 years. We were 5 days off signing a big mortgage to renovate our house. We'd been working with an architect for a couple of years. So I just thought that was it, that I would be married forever and ever and ever, which, I think that's the truth for many people. You don't kind of start off with a marriage or a relationship thinking it's going to end one day. But yeah, so I went into absolute shutdown and shock. And then he left the next day after I found out. I kicked him out. And and then I instantly became a single parent. And then the pandemic happened a couple of weeks later. So I was sort of thrust into a situation where I was dealing with grief and heartbreak and betrayal, but also homeschooling, isolation, and had I didn't have a hug from an adult for 3 months.
So hard, especially in what you were going through.
Yeah. So, but in a way, it sort of felt like kind of this sort of boot camp of single parenting, because I was with my kids 5 days a week. He had them on the weekends, but we quickly adapted into this new family of 3. And I think, like many parents would, I sort of overcompensated. Like we ate so much shit, had so many takeaways, but I just let us kind of, cry, and I was there as much as I could be for them. And, I always thought I couldn't do it. I couldn't be a single parent and I couldn't survive. And, even though I did the majority of the work, having someone else there, especially because of the nature of my work is that I'm on tour a few nights a week, and as a comedian and a freelancer, I just thought, how do I juggle all that? And the kids were, I think, 8 and 11 at the time. So they were old enough that I could tell them what had happened. But it was really interesting. So it took about 10 days before we told them that we were separating, and he would come into the house and do like dinner and bedtime. And then after they went to sleep, he'd go to a hotel. And then I said, look, I can't keep having you in the house. It's making me feel unwell. So we sat them down, and the kids just kept saying, why are you separating? Because they were in shock as much as I was. And then I remember my daughter saying, did Daddy have an affair? And I said, I've got to talk to Daddy about this. And and I asked my psychologist, and I asked another couples therapist about, is it okay if we tell them? And we did. A week later, we sat them down, and he explained kind of simply that there was another woman, and there are consequences to that. And so it just sort of opened the door to those conversations, and they know that he had an affair for 4 years, and the woman he met was from Canada, and all this sort of stuff. But I sort of really appreciated that I went into single parenting in a kind of chaotic way, because it was sort of not sink or swim, but I loved having those that in sort of intense time, because I just sort of felt like I was on tap. Because my work, I'm away a bit. I just thought, what if I was working, I couldn't have had that time, or if it wasn't the pandemic, I just sort of felt like we had that sort of time to embed this new kind of structure. So that was that. But what was really good was about 3 months in, and it's sort of a bit like pregnancy. You don't want to tell people in the first couple of months because it's so private, but because I have a, public platform with Scummy Mummies and also my other Instagram account, as soon as we did a podcast about it, I think it was in the June, all these women emerged and saying, I've been there, or thank you for speaking honestly about it. And I think that was the real turning point, when I knew that there was a community out there, and I discovered you guys. And I think I was just sort of Googling, single parenting, what the fuck? How do I get through it? And it changed my life. It really did. As soon as I started speaking openly about it, the community kind of rises up for you. And I had messages from, all these women who'd been on the podcast, like really extraordinary sort of women from around the world, saying, yes, it's shit, but this is going to be the making of you. He's done you a favor. And I just, all those just small gestures of kindness kept boosting me. And the more I spoke about it, the more people shared their own stories. And what I loved was, if I did a post about either the good things or the bad things, or not the bad things or the challenges, that other people would support each other in the comments as well. And I think that's where we're so lucky that we have these outlets for discussion. But one of the things I wanted to do, or I just naturally do anyway, because I'm a bit of a positive person, is that I wanted to really champion how good I felt about this. What felt like the absolute fucking end of the world nightmare, oh my God, I've been rejected, was actually I found love like I didn't know I had, and the community, and I also felt that we, as the Scummy Mummies, started to represent our community more. And we used to do little nod out, like, oh, it's great single parents are here, but almost felt a bit patronising when you're standing from the other side. And as we all know, unless you've walked a mile in our shoes, or, several thousand miles in our shoes, people don't know. They just don't. They don't know what it's like being up at 1 a.m. going, fuck, I still haven't washed the PE kit, and the bread's mouldy, and we don't have any ham.
I think like that thing of the being able to be honest about the good bits is so important, because there's, as much as there's like this stigma around single parenting, we've got one of our chapters is on kind of overcoming that single parent stigma, but it's like, even once you've moved past that, I think some people still feel like they can't talk about the joy that there is to be found in being divorced. Like obviously with your book, you've said it's great, it can be a good thing. And like how can people kind of embrace the joy and the upside of single parenting, of being divorced, unashamedly?
Yeah, and I think that, and when I wrote my book, I spoke to Holly McNish. She was saying, she finds it very difficult because amongst her parent friends, they're always complaining about their partners. And then you know, she's fortunate enough, she has like 2 or 3 days a week. And she's like, yeah, I go off and have sex. I sleep in. I have this very fulfilled life. But on the other, 5 days a week, it's really full on. But I think it's really important, because I think the stigma is what holds people back from getting divorced, because they think, oh, it's lonely, I can't afford it, I'll get a smaller house, and they'll just list all the negatives. And that's what I wanted to do with the book and the Instagram and all the like radio and podcasting work I do. Is like, it's absolute. I've never felt so happy, and I've always said it's the happiness I thought I was get, and the security and the comfort and the love that I thought I'd get from a marriage is actually what I get from being alone.
That resonates so much with me. Like it really does. It's like exactly when I became a single parent, didn't know just that feeling of like shame, stigma. I couldn't say the word single parent without tears coming to my eyes and just feeling like this is horrific. And exactly what you said, like all that like kind of love and support and kind of richness I was seeking in my relationship, I found like through the community. And it's just strange how life delivers something to you, but just not in the form that you were kind of, not in the form you were expecting it to come in. And the other thing that jumped into my head there was at the beginning, when I was doing the kind of, when my son Billy was away from me at the weekends, like I used to be like counting down every second and thinking, worrying about what he was doing, where he was, feeling, like I was going to go insane some of the time. But then I think when you're able to sort of flip it a bit and go, I have this opportunity to do what I want, to go away if I want, to have fun if I want, to sleep if I want, to cut, it does change it. So do you think there's something in how the mindset that you create around it is important?
And it's that difference between feeling an absence and a lack, when you think, oh, someone's missing, or I can't do this, all those sort of, exactly, the negative frameworks. And then something might happen. There's nothing, I think, that is like the rule book of how you suddenly become happy. But it's just like, I remember just waking up one day going, no one's going to criticize the food I'm going to eat or make, or, I don't have to, I made a list of all the things that shat me about my ex-husband. And it was just, that was very freeing, very petty, but very, very freeing in the fact that I just thought, I never have to see his mother again. I never have to, or feel. And also, I didn't realize how much I was holding on to. Like even yesterday when I was painting the stairs, I would have been bracing myself for him to come home going, you've done that wrong, you've done this wrong. Everything that I did, he used to chip away at my self-confidence. And like, or, I started running when I was married, and he'd be like, oh, you're not running properly, or you're not doing this, or you're not, like everything I did, he would be so negative about it. And I didn't realize I was sort of in a constant brace of his criticism. And so I sort of feel like it's that joy of waking up without criticism, without compromising, and just having the confidence to choose yourself and not ask someone else's permission for your happiness and for your pleasure and for your parenting choices. I think I've become a far, far better parent, and I'm not feeling like it's going to be second guessed, or when he gets home he's going, oh no, you've done it wrong, or they had too much screen time, or they didn't do this. Like this is freedom is the greatest prize of being a single parent. And as much as we kind of feel like the ideal is like having a partner and being loved and all the kids and everything is the prize, it's actually not. And kindness and happiness, I know it sounds really simplistic, but that's the aim, and whatever comes in. But I just wake up happy every day. I really do. And even this morning when I slept in and the throwing toast at the child as he runs out the door in yesterday's clothes. You know, but we're a happy little house, and I think that's really important. And I think the more and more we talk about the positives of it, the more and more women will get confidence to leave a toxic relationship, because I think we have to unpack all the negativity, all the stigmas, all the, you know, phrases, failed marriage, broken home, all that sort of stuff, where I sort of feel...
the broken home.
Oh, my God. Exactly. When I think, you know, when I talk to so many women secretly have asked me, you know, are you really that happy? I'm like, yeah, I fucking am. I'm really fucking happy. I can't tell you all the things. I can't put drugs and fucking on the internet. I mean, I can, but it probably wouldn't be a great idea. Tell them about all the things I'm putting in my body, inside me. But I think that's it. And there's, you know, and having gone through lots of therapy, my psychotherapist said, oh my God, you've rediscovered this inner child. You know, you've had to be the grown up, you've had to be responsible. Not that I'm, you know, completely going off the rails, but just to find joy and silliness and all those sort of things that I feel like you rush to be a grown up when you're in your 20s and 30s. And then when you hit your 40s, you're like, woohoo, this is fantastic. This is the life. This is the prize. This is the goal. So I think that's really important. And I think, I think Instagram and your follow up and all the articles you've written, Rebecca, are just so important. And I don't want to paste over. I don't want to gloss over how hard it is to work for it. But I think anything, you know, like exercise, parenting, you know, reestablishing your life, it's worth it, and you will reap the benefits from that. So I think that's really good. So yeah, I love being an advocate for our community, because I think I'm in a position in which I can both draw on, you know, well-known experts and celebrities and things like that, but also that I can disseminate that. And that's what I feel like that is my joy, is to be able to do that.
100%. And I feel like Zoe and I both, obviously, as you said, in our own ways, are trying to add into that picture of like, this can be a good thing. But like, with our book, we kind of want it to be like the nitty gritty in between bits. So it's like, you can be happy, and we want people to kind of understand how. So from your point of view, you know, one of our chapters is called Making the List, and it's all of those things that you have to do basically when you become a single parent, whatever your circumstance. So kind of like, from your perspective, what went on the list? What were those pain points, and how did you kind of make that transition from my life's just been kind of upside down to I'm really, really, really happy?
I guess, you know, the first bit is the chaos, isn't it? The first bit is sort of laying everything out, kind of going, right, finances, school, childcare, you know, all those sort of things, all the hardest things that I didn't want to think about. I think and asking advice is absolutely key, whether that's, you know, other people who are like 1 year, 5 years, 10 years ahead of you. But there's so many fantastic online resources for that. And also taking control of finances is a really big thing. I had an ex who said, you don't need a pension, I'll always look after you, or you don't need to worry about money. We had a joint account. I didn't really have my own bank account, you know, all those sort of things. So that was one of the biggest things, and just kind of going through and actually thinking about all my spending and having that discussion. I think that was really important. I think managing my time, like you were saying, Zoe, not just using the 2 days to drink, but going, right, what do I need to make my house my own? And little things like a little bit of painting, or getting, you know, new cushion covers, or really cheap ways in which you're re-establishing your space. Because I think all those, you want to kind of remove all the trigger points of sadness, or you know, re-establishing or restarting this new life. So I think, you know, it starts with sort of the behind the scenes stuff with finances and managing your time, and also doing things for yourself. And then I found that actually my children are better human beings because of single parenting, like having new structures, having new routines. This is our new life. You will be stripping your beds. You will be hanging the washing out. You will be doing that sort of stuff. And I wanted them to feel empowered as well. And in the beginning, yes, I did give them too many biscuits and too much screen time. But I think showing my vulnerability with my children was a big breaking point or turning point, because I used to say, everything's going to be happy. This is going to be the best life ever, which is an unrealistic and also not damaging, but it's not achievable. And I kind of wanted to paper over the cracks. But then I will tell them, I'm really, really fucking tired. We're all going to bed now, or we have to do this. This is how it works. Mummy works very hard. And so I think they really appreciated how, because of the age they were, that I was doing that for them. So I think that was a important list about reestablishing what the routines are, what my expectations are of them, but also telling them when I'm what's it called? I may have fucked up or made the wrong choice or whatever, and working through that. So I think there's that was a really important list as well to do. And also, when we go to the supermarket, we budget together and all those sort of things. So I think that's really important. And I don't know. Is that enough? I'm trying to think of other things that I.
Yeah, no, that's great. It's so hard to put that list together in the beginning. It's like, how am I ever going to get to that end point? I made literally about a 15-page list, I think, and was like, okay, well, day one, page one, here we go.
That's brilliant. So, that's really good. And I also asking for help. That was a big turning point. Because when you're in a couple, you just feel like you're the unit, but then I can't do everything. I knew, I would say to neighbours or whatever, can you just have the kids? I need to do this, or I might just need to go out for a walk because I'm absolutely at the end of my days. And finding more single parent friends that I could, because single parent coupley friends are sympathetic, but they're not empathetic, and they can't quite get it. And like, I've had friends who go, but you've got 2 days off a week, what are you complaining about? I'm like, I'm fucking exhausted. You're not up until 1 a.m. You don't know the stress in the morning of getting the kids out the door and having a teenage daughter scream at you because you've washed the wrong jumper and things like that. And then, by 9 a.m. you feel like you've already worked a whole fucking day, and then you've got to do all your freelance work and, all that sort of stuff. But I wouldn't switch it for the world, because I feel so fucking strong and empowered by it. But also I think I'm a much better role model for my children, especially, I think having a girl and a boy, seeing what I'm achieving, and the list of things, like you said, like I didn't know how to do the light bulbs, or I don't know. YouTube is an amazing resource, and just sort of going, no, I can do it. I can paint these things. I can do that stuff. So
100%. YouTube is my new husband, without a doubt.
What are like some of the things you've done since you've become a single parent that have been like, the best, that have given you the most joy that you don't think you would have done while you were a single parent? Before you became a single parent?
I think practical things around the house make me feel. I didn't realise like unblocking a toilet would give me so much joy.
The glamour.
Oh my God, when the sink was just full of gunge and I was like, oh, gross. So I think practical things where the kids like stand around and were like, yes, Mummy, we can do it. Like I built a fire pit and things like that. And that was amazing. We roasted marshmallows in it. What else is it? I think just doing, I never used to open my bank statements, and now I sit down and face and budget and make sure I've got enough money. And I prioritize my health, which I didn't do before. Like I've really got into exercise, and I think I didn't, and I really hid behind the weight that I was carrying as well. So I've really enjoyed feeling fitter and stronger in both in a mental and physical well-being. That for me feels extraordinary. And, I like going to bed at 9 p.m. anyway. So it's a really lovely thing that I can have these beautiful moments that I've saved up and paid for that holiday myself. And I like being by myself. I like being alone. I like I never thought I would enjoy a very empty house, but turns out I really, really very much love that. So yeah, and I think writing a book, I didn't know I could write. The last book I wrote was with Ellie. So I thought that, being able to do something as big as that by myself was something I was quite overwhelmed by. So that was really important. But I think it's just the juggle and the struggle every day. Like I used to think, oh, he's going to do that. And I used to get resentful if he hasn't. But now I don't feel any resentment because I just go, well, if it's not done by me, it's not going to get done. So I think those sort of daily wins, and also celebrating daily wins, going, no, you did. The kids are at school on time. Yes.
Obviously, you have been really open about your story of being divorced and like how, everything that came to pass. For people who are going into co-parenting with someone that, there's been, for whatever reason, there's been something massive has happened. How do you kind of separate the two to build a co-parenting relationship? Because so many people, that's like one of the biggest hurdles of single parenting is working alongside their co-parent. So what, have you got any advice or anything that's kind of helped you turn a corner in that department?
Yeah. So the things that I have done, I mean, I still can't be I find it very, very traumatic being in the same room as him. But I have worked out ways in which we can cope. Can cope. So the first thing was that we did a couple of rounds of mediation in which we worked out the finances. We worked out, what days we would have. And the mediator was great because she wouldn't allow swearing or shouting, which is mainly for my part. So that was really good. And there are affordable mediation. Like there's many tiers of mediation. You can get it subsidized as well. So that was really good. I think not replying to text messages or emails straight away. Someone used to say, don't reply unless it's emergency, obviously, but sit on it, because I'd be wanting to write back in capital letters going, fuck you, fuck off. So I think that's it. And have a trusted friend which you can release the rage to. I think knowing that you've got like one or two really good friends, like every time you have an interaction with your ex, that you can release that anger and know that being angry is okay. And that's it. We now have established a weekly phone call in which we both have to have the list of things that we need to discuss, whether it's, sports, PE, paying for therapy for my teenager, whatever. So we just go through that, and it's very businesslike, and it's like, right, what have you got? What have you got? So I think that's been really good. And just limit the time you spend with them, like make drop-offs and pick-ups really, really quick, have everything ready. I just like having all the bags at the front door, and I kind of step back and things like, I mean, it's inevitable, especially if you've got primary age children, that you will be in the same room with them. I just sit on the opposite side of the room and say, look, I'm going to be sitting in the front row, or I'll be in the back row. I just, I'll be more comfortable if I'm not near you. So that's really hard. But what I found very challenging is when my ex got a new partner, pretty much straight away, and they were introduced to the new partner, the kids, after a month, and he didn't ask me about that, and that became a massive point of friction. And the kids didn't want to they wanted to spend time with their dad. They didn't want to spend time with the new partner. So that I found the most difficult, because that's out of your control. And what my therapist said to me is like, you can't micromanage your children when they're with the other parent. It's really difficult, and you've got to let that go, because you're holding on to that. You have to have a point of trust now. And I think that was a real turning point as well, because but having always the freedom to sort of say, look, I feel uncomfortable about this, or and negotiating that, and trusting that the other parent has the best interests of their children at heart. So I think that was really important. But yeah, just make everything very businesslike, and don't agree to things if you don't like. He really wanted a lot more phone conversations and all this stuff. I'm like, no, I don't feel comfortable with that. And keep it to a minimum. And and another bit of advice was have a diary of your feelings and what you want to discuss with them, because sometimes writing it down can clarify it as well, because otherwise they spin in your head. You just want to shout at them all the time, and it's not productive. And I found the more I got angry at him, it just kind of raised all the trauma. But yeah, last week was my daughter's birthday, and she asked that we all go out to lunch together. And I thought, oh, fuck, I don't want to do that. But I thought, look, it's an hour of my time. I just didn't look him in the eye. I was very pleasant, and then he paid and I went home. But I thought, no, I'll do that for my daughter. Because I guess the golden rule is you love your kids more than you hate your ex. And that's my kind of mantra. That's what I always go into. I'm like, what's best for the children, and I can wear it. But it's been 2.5 years, and I'm still very traumatized by what happened, and I feel really angry. I still feel really angry about it, but I don't let that overwhelm me anymore, and I know it'll get less and less. And when the waves of sadness and grief come, I know they'll pass, and I sort of sit with it, and I don't try and push it down. Might have a nice cry bath, things like that. So yeah.
Yeah, an important point is that it doesn't, it doesn't necessarily disappear the difficult feelings or just kind of, it's gonna come in waves. I think any of us, and Rebecca and I talk about this kind of often, that God, we're a few years, we're both, I think about the same amount of time down the line. And sometimes it's like, oh my God, how is this still coming up? Or, but so I think it is important for us to, acknowledge that. But another thing you touched on that I'd love to, I think would be really interesting to kind of get some insight into is the finances thing. So you were saying that you took control of your finances. So for any single parent who's like, and I'm like, oh my God, what do I do? I've never had to, manage this by myself before. Do you have any guidance or tips on how to get started on that front?
Yeah. Oh, well, one of the really good tips I got from I think she's called Miss Mummy Penny, is like sit down with your bank statement over a month and just sort of divide everything up. What's entertainment, what's bills, what can I save on for each thing? And even though it feels really boring, it's so satisfying. And like, did I need to have that, coffee and cake then? Or could I have, just look at all your incidental spending, but also look at what that spending does to you emotionally. Like this, I remember buying, that ASOS outfit because I was feeling really sad. Why was I spending that money and for what gain? That's a really good thing. And, even just going on those comparison websites, I think I saved something crazy like £1,000 a year just from doing a few little switches, and it took a couple of hours. So those sort of things you think, oh, what else could I use that £1,000 for? Or I just need that money anyway. So it's really taking ownership of those finances. And yes, open the fucking letters, open the things. And things like, I didn't realize you could get a subsidized for being a single parent from council tax. And so you can apply for the refunds retrospectively. Things like that were really, really important. And just, especially in the beginning, it was all about Deliveroo pizzas. And like, no, but if I just went to Aldi and got a few frozen pizzas, I might save about £7,000 a year. So those sort of things, and there is pride and there's ownership of that, which is kind of fantastic. And and also having nights in with friends, especially if you can't get childcare. There's nothing wrong than saying, look, you bring pudding, I'll make a lasagna and a couple of £5 bottles of wine. It's just as fun as going out and getting wankered at the pub. So I think just small adjustments doesn't mean you're missing out, but yeah, just to have a bit more and have a savings plan, which I never did because I just thought, well, I've got a husband and I'll always have money. So yeah, now I'm much more conscious of that and things like saving for tax. Again, very bad at that. I spent the money that was in my account, not going, oh yeah, you're going to pay the tax in January. So damn it, hate that. Anyway, so
I hate that too.
Shit. January's miserable enough without having to pay thousands of pounds to HMRC. So yeah, I think yeah, those sort of, making it like separating all your expenditure, but also make sure you've got money for fun. Like say, no, that's, that's my, bit of fashion or, whatever, 100 quid or 200 quid a month to have as, reward money for that. Don't completely deny yourself for fun if you can afford it. And also go to places like Gingerbread and all that sort of stuff for financial advice, because there might be other ways in which you can get sort of, what's it called? Not compensation, but you know what I mean? Like, that sort of stuff. So yeah. And share childcare costs, like have sleepovers with other friends. There's lots of ways in which you don't have to do alone, and don't be overwhelmed with pride about having to do everything yourself as well.
Yeah, I think that rule, that what you said about keep something back for yourself is such a good blanket rule for single parenting, because I think lots of newly single parents are just like panic mode, look after the kids, and they forget to look after themselves, and that's so important, not just for you, but for your kids as well. They need you to look after yourself and to treat yourself well.
Exactly right. And a friend of mine said, just buy us some really fucking nice underwear. Some friends gave me banded together, and they said, oh, look, here's 100 quid. It's like 10 friends, buy yourself something nice. I just bought myself a really nice bra from Agent Provocateur, and it gave me so much joy. But, that's not a very...
Absolutely.
Buy 10 lace thongs from Primark. Whatever makes you feel kind of, fabulous. I think those are things, because you go into that kind of protective mode where you want to, be the super mum. You want to be the sort of, mother figure. And it's, it doesn't do anyone any favors if you completely spent of your self-worth. Because I think so much of my self-worth was entangled in this notion of being the good wife and being the good, and also projecting, because I was with my partner for 22 years, all our friends are sort of still, we're established from university and, from a long time ago, and people were, oh, you were always going to be together. It was always Helen and Will. And I'm like, that was a hard thing to kind of let go of. But now everyone hates him and no one's his friend. So it's great.
The end.
I love it. My friend said, so many. You won. And I was like, fucking yes, I did.
I think there's so many things, though, in becoming a single parent that are, are such healthy kind of messages for our kids as well. Like those that we were just talking about, not being a martyr, putting yourself first, like being honest with the kids about, I work hard and, you've got to help out, or, things like that, instead of like the stay together for the kids, not kind of talk, be in this really toxic environment where everything is obvious but completely hidden. So I think like all of this is like really positive for raising really emotionally aware, solid children.
And that's the thing. It's like you want the best for your children in terms of you want them to be happy, you want them to be at a school they love, they want to feel fulfilled, all those sort of things. But, if you're giving, you're not going to be the best mum for them, are you? To be the best sort of fulfilled and happy and, strong and resilient. I think, showing them that you're a doormat is not great. And it's not, for either your son or your daughter to show that, you accept bad behaviors. And I think that's what really stung. I remember when I was researching the book, someone said, don't put up with behaviors from your partner that you wouldn't put up with from a friend. So if your friend sat down at the dinner table and said, oh, fuck, I don't want this. This is yuck. Or, like this, I don't want broccoli, or you've cooked this badly, or the pasta's overdone, or don't give me Chardonnay, or blah, blah, blah. It's like if your friend treats you that way, you go, fuck off, get out of my house. But why is it we put up with such shitty behaviors from supposedly the loves of your life, the people who are meant to respect you? So I think that's that. And I'm much more conscious of nipping in the bud any kind of language that both my children use to each other and to myself. Like my kids say, I start a sentence with, you know what you should do, which is something his father would say. I said, no, we're not having that phrase in this house because it's patronizing. I said, don't do that. No. And I think I would have glossed over that because that's a saying that he sort of starts off with, or, yeah, so things like that, I think I'm much more, what's it called? Sorry, I'm very tired. My brain's not working. I'm much more switched on to the way they treat each other and their friends and all that sort of stuff. But the best example is just being a badass person yourself. And I think that's the loveliest thing, is that when I see behaviors in my children that they've obviously got from me, and, like, I gave my friend lots of birthday presents, like lots of little birthday presents. And my daughter said, I want to be a friend like you when I grow up. Your friends really love you. So that sort of feedback is really, really lovely. That's been one of the most rewarding things, that they just sort of see what I've achieved just by myself, and how loved I am and how respected I am. And when I wrote the book, I said, look, I'm writing a book so I can help other mums and dads, go through what I've gone through. And they were at my book launch, and, they're really proud of what I do. So, yeah.
I feel like we've taken up enough of your time, Helen. But I'm sure you get asked. I mean, I get lots of messages on Instagram from brand new single parents. I'm sure you get 15 times as many. So what's to end on, what's the kind of number one thing that you say to newly single parents, as just kind of you've got this?
Yes, I get so many. It's mainly people want reassurance. So they'll just say, look, I've just found out my husband's been having an affair with my best friend. How do I get through this? My first thing is reach out for help. People will love you. People will support you. It is going to be very hard, but it will be the best thing that's ever happened to you. And you are free. You are now free. And don't worry about what he's up to with his new partner, because he'll never be happy. And you will be. And you are loved.
And that's a wrap for this week. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. If you did, then I have one small favour to ask. Please can you take a minute to subscribe to the Frollo podcast and give us a rating and review. This really helps other single parents who might benefit from it find us. The Frollo app, which is fully user verified for user safety, is available on the Google Play Store and the App Store, and you can find out more info and download links at www.frollo.com. or follow us on Instagram at FrolloApp. My co-host on this series of the Frollo podcast and co-author of the book How to Be a Happy Single Parent, Rebecca Cox, is on Instagram at SingleMotherEdit. And you can purchase your copy of our book, How to Be a Happy Single Parent, at all the major book retailers. Until next time, have a great week.